During its 3-year campaign against the Confederacy of Independent Systems, the Grand Army of the Republic set up shop on quite a few planets. Many of these planets were established, well-known Republic member worlds, while others were located on the front lines or were beachheads in separatist territory. But some Republic bases were considerably more obscure. The galaxy, after all, was a vast place, and much of it was poorly explored and rarely visited. Those parts of the galaxy might not have always seemed like the best place to put a military base, but oftentimes, the Republic had good reason to set up bases in the middle of nowhere. To understand why, we're going to be looking at some of the Republic's most obscure bases today.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Let's start with the most obvious obscure Republic world. Kamino itself. Kamino was unknown to virtually the entire galaxy prior to the sudden outbreak of the Clone Wars, and this wasn't just because the Kaminoans were secretive. Kamino was actually located outside of the galaxy itself, suspended about halfway between the main galactic disk and the Rishi Maze, which was the closest satellite galaxy. That means that, technically, the birthplace of the GAR was actually also its most remote base. With that said, Kamino definitely didn't stay obscure, so it's up to you whether or not it still counts as properly remote. Despite technically being a separate galaxy, the Rishi Maze wasn't terribly inaccessible due to its close proximity to the main galaxy. Indeed, many smugglers and corporations established holdings in the satellite galaxy. But it was largely ignored during galactic wars, and since Kamino wasn't part of the Rishi Maze either, being one of a string of star systems suspended between the two galaxies, it was ignored during the Clone Wars as well. Due to the unusual positioning of Kamino, the Republic didn't really fortify any nearby planets apart from Rishi, where the hyperspace route leading to Kamino began. There was one exception to this, however, an artificially created, heavily fortified secret route called the Quiberon Line between Kamino and another of the Republic's more remote fortresses, Rothana. Rothana was actually located inside the galaxy, but it was far past the edge of known space in the Outer Rim, and very few people knew of its location. For centuries, Rothana had been one of Kuat Driveyard's best kept secrets, a remote holding run by a subsidiary company that took care of secret contracts KDY didn't want discovered by the media or rival corporations. Rothana was an icy world inhabited by Kuwaiti colonists, whose local culture and social norms were so obscure and complex that they were nearly impossible to mimic, thus shielding Rothana heavy engineering from espionage. In the decade before the Clone Wars, RHE was contracted by the Kaminoans for Project Icefang, which commissioned the original lineup of vehicles for the Grand Army of the Republic. During the war itself, Rothana remained an extremely important Republic stronghold, though later Republic vehicles were instead designed by Kuat Driveyards proper instead of contracted to RHE. The Separatists were never able to discover its location, ensuring that Rothana would remain the GAR's go-to planet for secret projects. These next few bases were less important than Kamino and Rothana, which were virtually the heart of the entire Republic war effort, and they were also a bit less obscure. These are the bases that we would consider politically remote. In other words, they were very far from Republic space, even if they were decently well known. The foremost example of this would be the Republic military base on Toydaria, which was located pretty deep in Hutt space during the Clone Wars. This was the Republic's only holding in the entirety of Hutt space, which made it a vitally important resupply post for several Grand Army theaters. However, its location within Hutt space pretty much granted it immunity to Separatist offensives, as well as isolation from the rest of Republic forces. Another politically remote Republic base was Eridan Prime, a vital Republic research station working on a secretive superweapon project at the start of the Clone Wars. This base was captured by the CIS a few weeks into the war, allowing the Confederacy to appropriate the weapons the Republic was making there. But this snowy planet was nonetheless an extremely remote Republic stronghold for a time. Eridan Prime was located in the Tyon hegemony, the heart of Separatist space, and it was incredibly far from any other Republic military installation. For obvious reasons, it was never reclaimed after falling to the Separatists. Somewhat nearby was the planet Corfir, the headquarters of the Republic's 11th Sector Army. Corfir was located in the Gordian Reach, an infamously obscure Outer Rim sector where virtually nobody lived, also home to the Yavin system. Corfir was located in the part of the sector that was between the Royal, a nigh impassable wall of nebulae that interfered with hyperspace travel, and the Radama Void, which was similarly impassable. What's more, it was located in space claimed by neither the Republic or the Confederacy, part of a long strip of wild space leading from Findar on the edge of the Republic out to the desolate ruins of the Sith worlds. There was absolutely nothing in this region of space, and Corfir itself was as insignificant as a planet could possibly get. The only reason the Republic was there at all was probably to use the planet as a staging ground for campaigns against Ord Radama and the Confederacy's outer Hydian territories. Rounding off the politically remote category, we have Javin, a world on the Corellian trade spine that was also far removed from Republic and Separatist space. Javin was a trade world located far out in the western reaches near Bespin and Hoth, but it was significant for its location on the Corellian trade spine, which was a vital supply line for the Republic during the Clone Wars. Due to the Republic's interest in securing the trade spine, Javin was made the headquarters of the 19th Sector Army, despite being even farther from Republic territory than Corfir. Apart from Kamino and Rothana, Javin was likely the Republic's most remote major stronghold, though like the others in this section, it wasn't exactly obscure. Finally, we have the Republic bases that were well and truly out in the middle of nowhere, most of which were insignificant and some of which don't even serve a discernible purpose. The first of these is one you might recognize from Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Glid Station, located on the ice world Auto Plutonia. Auto Plutonia was located deep in wild space. Again, it was far removed from Republic or Separatist territory. This time, however, its tactical value to the Republic isn't exactly clear. It's established that the base existed to protect Pantora, Auto Plutonia's inhabited moon, but Pantora was also very far from the front lines of the war. With that said, the Separatists also founded a base on Auto Plutonia during the Clone Wars, so perhaps they had some plans for Pantora after all. If so, we can't fathom why. Lastly, our last remote Republic base was located on Iceberg 3. Iceberg 3 was actually located in the same system as Dak, the homeworld of the Quarren and Mon Calamari, but it makes this list by virtue of not being a planet, but a short period comet. Mon Calamari itself was actually pretty remote, but it was well known enough that we wouldn't count a Republic base on the planet itself for this list. A base on a comet located near Mon Calamari is a step further though. Why you would even bother building a military base on something so unstable and difficult to land on as a comet is beyond us. This facility was mostly just a watch post for keeping an eye on the Calamari sector too. A job the Republic could have had an easier time building a small satellite base for. With all that said, we would be remiss if we didn't point out that the Separatists put the Republic to shame when it came to having remote bases. One of the Confederacy's major backers, the Intergalactic Banking Clan, had a bunch of mostly automated vaults and shipyards located in satellite galaxies or out beyond the galactic disk, hence the name of the organization. During the Clone Wars, these facilities churned out endless waves of Munificent-class star frigates, much to the frustration of the Republic Navy, which had no idea where these IGBC foundries were or how to get them. So those were some of the Republic's most remote military bases during the Clone Wars. But what do you think? Do you like videos about these sorts of obscure planets? Do you want the Separatist version? Feel free to post your thoughts in the comments section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.